Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Limbus Company video. Today we're going to be playing with the bamboo-headed Merceau identity, and more specifically the shadow-vested Bladesinger ego. That's brand new, came out a couple weeks ago. Missed it because, yeah, I was in Norway at the time, but it is very good. It is a very good ego, and one that I do enjoy quite a bit, because, simply put, it gives a very sizable buff to Merceau. However, the real problem with it, or I should say the problem that I have with this identity, is one where he just... It's a problem with his yield my flesh skill. Because that skill, it is very inconsistent with its ability to actually lose a clash. And usually it's like the real issue with that is because it's completely out of your control most of the time, since, you know, the enemy's skill power themselves are what actually determines its ability to even do it in the first place. Also, we lose. Very cool. Because I lost ego resources of the thing for the ego, which is kind of a little strange. It's definitely a little strange, considering that when you are using bamboo-headed Merceau, its ego cost for the first time you'll use it is... it only costs pride, 3 pride. Which I'm pretty sure we had enough there, but I guess you actually need it or something? I didn't really look close enough to see what our ego resources were at, but... in any case... as you can tell, I'm going to be... we lose again. Very cool. Anyway, as I was saying, the reason why it's so inconsistent is because it's Yield My Flesh's ability to lose a clash is entirely dependent on the enemy's clash power. And 90% of the time, an enemy's skills can only barely beat Yield My Flesh's minimum roll, I should say. Hard fight, by the way. Very hard fight. But, yeah, because of its inability to actually effectively win clashes, or I should say its inability to effectively lose clashes, this identity in and of itself feels very inconsistent with his actual strength.
너희 괜찮은 거야? 피가 줄줄 흐르는데?
But this ego, the shadow-vested Bladesinger, it fixes that problem by making it so that his Yield My Flesh loses clash power depending on how much poise he has on himself. And thus, because of that, he can very easily lose clashes.
방금 멋졌어. 너희들의 사랑의 힘이, 빛의 힘이 저 어둡고 악한 아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어. 이대로면 승리도 시간 문제겠지?
Why did that guy not attack her? She should be dead right now. Why did it not attack her? That was weird. Oh, it's because the Shadow Blasted Bladesinger hit my form's empty and staggered it. That's what happened. Okay. In any case, one of the best things about this ego, aside from the fact that it actually ensures that Bamboo Hat and Mersul can actually lose a clash with his Yield My Flesh skill, is that it gives him healing. And a quite a substantial amount of healing as well. It's 10% of the damage he deals, up to 50% of his total health with a single skill. Which is a lot. It is a lot of health. Let me just say that much. But yeah, as you can see, it rolls a 0. It rolls a 0 with his 70 poise. Because what skill is it that does it? I think it's this one. Resentful Scabbard. On using Yield My Flesh, this unit's HP does not drop below 10. And he loses poise on self divided by 2 clash power. With no cap. There's no cap to that. So the more poise he has, the more likely it is going to roll a 0. And I don't really want to lose too many clashes here because this boss fight does not really do well if you lose clashes, but the healing this ego provides, it's ridiculously strong, to say the least. And one thing I'm going to be doing is, in my last video I said I'm going to be experimenting a bit. And that includes basically showing the entire Mirror Dungeon run. Or at least the entire run up to when I'm actually speaking. When I'm not speaking, I'll obviously cut it, and when things aren't really that interesting, I'll definitely cut it as well. But for the most part, I'm going to be trying to show the entire Mirror Dungeon run. Hopefully I can have enough to talk about to actually justify doing that, at least. But yes, the biggest problem with this identity when it comes to soloing the Mirror Dungeon is the fact that his stagger bar is really, really high. And of course the first fight is always the hardest, but yes, as you can see, this floor is very difficult. Very difficult for an identity that both is fatal to blunt damage and has a low initial stagger bar. It's better to just instantly use the ego on turn 1 to get the healing active. Otherwise, these rabbits are really going to be a pain. They always are. Unless you yourself are resistant to blunt damage and do things. But yeah, like, look at this right here. When we can't actually do anything, it's a pain. Not being able to clash against enemies. But another good thing that this ego does give us, which can aid us in this fight, is that it gives Mersul the ability to effectively revive once per encounter. if he hits 0 health, then yeah, he just survives. And it heals him basically his entire health pool. But yes, very, very strong with the ability to actually consistently lose clashes with Yield My Flesh. Like, that skill never would have lost that clash there if not for the ego. Because its minimum roll is like, it's a 12, I'm pretty sure.
우리 쪽에 유리한 환경이 되었네. 잘 됐다.
I'll use the corroded version, why not, right? It's fun. And we're showcasing the ego, might as well use the corroded version sets at least once. The corroded version is actually kind of interesting because it also buffs the enemies surprisingly. Because as you see right now, all of the dead rabbits now have poise, which is it's impossible for them to have poise normally. And that's just because we use the corroded version of the Shadow Vested Bladesinger, because yeah, it actually buffs the enemies surprisingly. It gives them a little bit of poise count, some, I think it's slash damage. Let me check. Yeah, slash damage and slash fragility. So they take more damage from slash damage and they do more slash damage. But yes, it's a very, very, very strong ego.
환상체를 제압하는 건 우리만으로 충분하잖아. 있는 힘껏 찔러놓고 으깨놨지만 저것들은 언젠가 다시 재생하겠지. 내가 부서지고 파괴되어도 다시 교체되는 것처럼.
Oh wait, I wanted to skip this boss fight. I wasn't thinking, and I accidentally clicked the fight him. Oh well, it's not that hard. It's just the Wayward Passenger. He's one of the easiest bosses to actually beat solo. And it's exclusively because he retreats on the turn 2, so getting staggered on turn 1 doesn't actually matter. It does matter a little bit in the sense that he does end up getting buffed by all of his portals, but like not enough to actually matter. But yeah, I wanted to skip this fight because I knew it would be easy, and it's just didn't want to waste my time on it, basically. But oh well. Free money is free money, I suppose. Something I just found out as well, by the way. Because I wanted to do this make this video, and obviously in making this video I had to research a little bit more about this ego to actually figure out what it does. And something interesting that I found out that I didn't actually know happened is that, yeah, the sprite of Distorted Kim applies to every single identity, not just Bamboo-Headed Kim, and that's something I didn't realize because I've only ever used this ego with Bamboo-Headed Merceau. And that is very significant because it guarantees the fact that this is indeed that this ego is indeed a synchronization ego.
승객들, 뭔가
I will
기분적인
admit,
일이라도
it
있었던
certainly
거야.
doesn't feel like one, but it absolutely is. And this fight is not the best, let me just say that much. These guys are going to be a nightmare. Unless we do the corrosion. Because it's got attack weight. Very cool. Anyways, yes, this is in fact the synchronization ego. Even though it doesn't really feel like one, the fact that it applies to every single identity, regardless of which identity it is, specifically the sprite, I mean,
올고든 하나.
that guarantees that it is synchronization.
한수 배웠네. 대상의 상태가 안 좋은 것 같아. 이걸 잘 이용하면 좋은 결과로 이어질 수
And
있을
the
거야.
main reason why I say it doesn't feel like it's actually a synchronization ego is because
本当に嬉しいです。
it's because the only effects it gives to any identity that isn't Bamboo Hadamersol is it gives them the healing, extra speed, and more poise and a little bit of extra crit damage, and that's basically it.
개체들의 체력이 많이 깎여나갔어.
Which that doesn't really feel like it's embodying the abnormality that it's supposed to represent, right?
완벽한 공격이었어.
And that's what synchronization is. It's them literally becoming the abnormality that they are. And the main reason for that is because all of the skills that would be given to
공복이가 될 정도였네. 과히 좋군.
this ego are the skills that, you know, the bamboo-hatted Mersal identity already has. Like, this kit that we're seeing right here is the kit that would be present for this identity, or for this synchronization ego. So by giving it to the ego, it takes away from the actual the identity itself. But yeah, as you can see right here, we lose the synchronization, and automatically Yield My Flesh can no longer lose any clashes. Very cool. And this is the thing that makes it's what makes this identity so inconsistent, in my opinion, and simply not very fun to play with, because the thing that makes them so fun is Yield My Flesh, losing the clash and using the bone claiming. But it's incredibly difficult to actually do that when it's just the identity on its own. But the ego absolutely makes it incredibly consistent. And that consistency makes him actually fun.
대성공이야. 칼은 신나. 노래 부를까? 절묘한 하나 배웠군.
살을 베어내고 뼈를 깎는다. 육참.
Even without the ego, though, it's like
완벽한 한 방. 시원한걸?
he's pretty strong once he gets going, anyways.
되겠다. 달빛이 밝다. 금은까지 밝진 않을 터.
칼날이 잘 드네요.
있는
아마 그
힘껏
공격이
찔러놓고
약점이었겠죠?
웃겨놨지만 저것들은 언젠가 다시 재생하겠지. 내가 부서지고 파괴되어도 다시 교체되는 것처럼. 이 얼마나 완벽하게 그지없는 나만의
And now that we got the music box, we've basically won. Floor 2 doesn't matter, none of the fights are interesting. But hey, we can fight crabs at least.
박수.
Crabs are kind of difficult. Not really, but they can be, these big ones, at least.
벤단 사활을 건다.
If the crabs actually stack up a substantial amount of rupture damage, then they can start
숨을
packing a bit of a punch, but
완벽한 한
It's
방.
not the easiest thing in the world for them to actually start stacking up Rupture. A good amount of it anyways. But yes, the two things that this identity needs to actually be, like, in my opinion,
한 상체가 탈출했어.
I wouldn't really say a strong identity because he is strong on his own, but the things that make him,
아니어야 할 거야.
like the two things that would be like good quality of life for this identity are the lowering of the clash power for Yield My Flesh, which is given by, it's given by the ego, and the second thing is the ability to avoid the first stagger threshold,
우와, 가름도 깜짝.
which is something that's given by the mana-shaped music box. Still can't.
와,
Still
엄청난
can't lose a
공격이었어.
clash with Yield My
기념할
Flesh, though.
만한걸?
Unfortunate.
敵に対して大きな打撃を
The crabs are too
与える
weak. But that's the thing, it's like he needs poise in order to actually lose the clash. So actually, in my opinion, you don't actually want to really use the ego on turn 1. Because if you use it on turn 1, then he really lacks the poise in order to guarantee the clash lose.
느껴졌어? 내가 너희를 위해서 주문을 외웠는데. 응, 잘 걸린 것 같아. 자, 지금 싸워보는 거야.
So it's best to wait till like turn 2 or turn 3 to actually use the ego.
대성공이야.
If you don't have some way to actually buff his poise generation, that is.
올고든 하나. 훌륭하군.
But yeah, the healing from the ego, it's definitely the best thing because yeah, Yield My Flesh, Claim Their Bones, does so much damage. He basically guarantees a full heal every single time he uses it.
괴로워하는 게 느껴지지 않아? 이 기세로 계속 나아가 보자.
상황이 끝나면 티페리트에게 방금 상황 녹화되어 있냐고 물어봐. 이 정도면 엔젤라님에게도 증명할 수 있어. 이 일에 토끼 따위의 흉내는 필요하지 않다.
Honestly, I'd argue that this is probably the strongest ego in the game right now. Just because of how much it buffs Bamboo Hat Mercel.
그 문까지 밟진 않을 터.
공격.
있는 힘
It is really, really powerful.
영상을 남기면
언젠가 다시 재생할
The guaranteed clash loss, basically. That's what it does.
부서지고 파괴되어도 다시
And that is the thing
착수.
that he needs the most.
이 얼마나 완벽하게 그지없는 나만의 지옥인가. 얌전히 잠들어 있어야 할 놈들까지
서울을 건너.
눈을 떠버렸나.
No point using it here on turn 1 because, like I said, he wants the poise in order to actually guarantee the clash lost. And also,
직원다운 완벽한 공격이었어.
the fact that we're starting this fight without the first stagger threshold means that it doesn't really...
오,
We don't really
기분이
need
좋은
it.
가서 빨리 때려 눕히자고.
But using it here is fine.
된다면 사활을 건다.
Also, something strange has happened, and I don't really know if I can fix it or not, is... As you can see, my mouse is really, really tiny for some reason.
노래 부를까?
I don't know why it's this small. Maybe it's a setting that I can change in the game, but it was like... It used to be like twice this size, and now for some reason it's like super tiny, and I don't know how to fix it.
카론,
Very strange.
먼저 가버릴
Still-
거야.
Paralyze. Paralyze is also a thing that's bad. Cannot claim the bones yet because paralyze. Oh well.
되겠다.
Anyways, like this thing, the mouse, it just happened randomly in one of the most recent updates, supposedly, and now it's just, it's weird. It's like, it's not that big of a deal, but the tiny mouse is definitely throwing me off a bit. I'll say that much.
기념할 만한 걸. は深手を負っています。
And now we can bone claim. I mean, look at that. He can lose a clash to a skill that rolls a 2.
雲門かじ入っちまねと
That is literally impossible for the regular identity to do.
大ピンチ入ったんだ雲門かじ入っちまね
이것
と
봐. 있는 힘껏 찔러놓고
This ego
으깨놨지만
really is like it really is the best ego in the
언젠가
game.
다시 재생하겠지. 내가 부서지고 파괴되어도 다시 교체되는 것처럼. 이 얼마나 완벽하게 그지없는
묘스럽군
나만의 지옥인가.
어긋날 연유도 없죠.
Lithograph. Nah, we don't need that. Lame. Could get wound cleared. Because something else that this this ego does is it also makes Mersal a bleed identity. Which is very, very good because he doesn't actually have any bleed application in his normal kits. No bleed, no bleed, no bleed, no bleed. There's a bit of bleed here. To claim their bones. But yeah, he's not a bleed identity, but the ego does make him a bleed identity, which is very nice. And we have the blubbering toad. Not a particularly good fight when we want to basically be spamming egos. I say spamming egos, but it's like, it's not really... You don't really spam the ego with the... when you can synchronize with it.
망을 참아 숨을 거두리라
効果的な攻撃でした。
But he is definitely not the best for this identity in particular, because this identity does want to lose clashes, but the frog,
저 친구를 보살펴줘.
or the toad, he does not want you, or I should say, you don't want to lose clashes against the frog, because he, yeah, all of the sinking he inflicts. In fact, I'd be surprised if we don't corrode right now, which we do. Almost. Almost. You almost corrode. We're guaranteed to corrode here, though. Literally guaranteed corrosion. Nothing we can do about it. So, might as well get the maximum amount of damage as we can out of this turn.
달빛이 밝다니다 금문까지 밝진
Even with it rolling all tails, it's still pretty still pretty strong.
올고든 하나. 훌륭하군. 한 수 배웠네.
달빛이 밝다니다 금문까지 밝진
자, 개체기 큰 필이
Technically, we didn't corrode in that fight,
정말 멋진 활약이었어.
which is definitely impressive.
꼭 불러주기야. 세상이 평화로워지는
It's hard to beat the frog without corroding,
근데
when you're doing it solo anyways.
지금처럼 조용하려나?
Floor 3, obviously taking this fight. Always take this floor. Best floor in the game. The trauma shield would have been nice to have in that last fight, but what can you do? Let's see if we can get anything useful. Gray coat's usually good, but nah, doesn't look like it. We'll just upgrade the wound cleared to get some bleed count going. Need more money. And that should be good. We corrode turn 1. We just reset until we corrode into the shadow vested Bladesinger, which did not happen here, so try again.
처리하지 못한
이런
나는
신묘함을 보곤 했는데
쓸모없는 존재야. 아니,
기묘한 수를 통해
Did not happen again, try again.
배 안에서 바둑을 두는
직원들이
이런
전멸했고
신묘함을
Literally, it just reset until we get it.
똑똑히
내가
기억해 관리자.
나섰더라면
다음 기회가 온다면
It really wants to do the transport machine.
이런 신묘함을 보곤
쓸모없는
했는데
존재야. 아니,
입에서 갑자기
There we go.
내가
위험한 일이 있을 때마다 이러냐고?
내가 나섰더라면
I don't know why I have the transport machine and the other egos on in anyways. Like I'm not ever going to actually use them, so
방금 공격 다음에 다른 개체에게도 다시 해봐줄래? 영상으로 남기면
honestly there's a very good chance
도움이 될지도 몰라.
that we can just straight up beat this fight before the queen can actually finish her off.
지금 이곳에 등장!
Also, hi Queenie. Love you.
그래 그렇게 가라앉지 않을 분노를 담는 거야.
Cannot lose a clash yet, so no point in even trying. No. Queenie, I didn't realize you were faster. I would have clashed against that skill instead otherwise.
모래배들의 창은 유쾌해 보이는 거.
먹혀버렸어.
청주라도 걸친 건가?
The one thing about this fight is that I cannot guarantee that we will actually be able to hit the correct sword. Specifically, I can't guarantee that we can hit the correct sword with the bone claiming.
방금 멋졌어. 너희들의 사랑의 힘이, 빛의 힘이 저 어둡고 악한 아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어.
And because of that,
이대로면 승리도 시간 문제겠지?
it becomes a little harder to actually clash properly, I should say. Just because we have to waste a skill going after the sword every time. Basically how it works is every time you use a skill that gains attack weight in the middle of the fight, it always goes after the leftmost sword.
이 모든
So right here,
제 탓이라고는 말씀하시지 않았지만
the bone claiming will in fact hit that sword.
그러면 안 돼요. 저는 좋은 세필하잖아요.
The only issue is we might end up corroding because of it.
정의보다도 푸른 자요. 사랑보다 붉은 자요.
But that's the price we pay for using an identity that specifically loses clashes against a boss fight that inflicts sinking. Yeah, there's corroded. Corrode again. Very cool. But yeah, we killed the sword.
환상체를 제압하는 건 우리만으로 충분하잖아.
개체들의 체력이 많이 깎여 나갔어. 괴로워하는 게 느껴지지 않아? 이 기세로 계속
Ooh, yikes.
나아가보자.
예상하지 못한 피해였네. 우선 검을 물리는
Well, at least the ego gives us self-revive and also anti-stagger as well, which is very good.
운명 속에 파묻힌 그대의 이름을 나 여기서 빛을
We corrode back into it though, so like the bad thing about it is that
스피라 중에 내가 그나마 너희의 아내를
Um.
걱정하는데 왜 가르쳐준 대로 안 하고 쓸데없이
the bad thing about it is that what am I trying to say? When that happens, you lose the synchronization, but because we corrode back into it, it doesn't really matter. Maybe I should have picked up Greycoat though, because this is definitely going to be scary. We're at half health. And unfortunately, we didn't get 3 ego skills. If we got 3 ego skills, we could have activated Mercel's own passive to guarantee that we could actually survive this turn.
대성공이야. 가론 신나. 노래 부를까?
It's going to be close. I'll say that much. Yeah, very close. 25 health.
우리 앞을 막는 증오스러운 존재들에게 나와 그대의 힘을 합쳐 위대한 사랑의 힘을 보여줄 것을. 상황이 나빠졌지만
But hey, we don't need to do anything. We win. Very cool.
너희들은 왜 나의 노력을 가정하네 몰라주는 거야? 너희들은 내가 아니었으면 진작에 벌레만도 못하게 죽어버렸어. 아카나 레이.
Good job, Queenie. Couldn't have done it without you.
당신.
I love that boss fight. Genuinely my favorite fight in the entire game.
오늘도 정말 멋진 활약이었어.
And it's not just because the Queen is there.
내일도 꼭 불러주기야.
Although that is a big portion of it.
세상이 평화로워지는 건 기쁜 거야. 근데 내일도 지금처럼 조용하려나?
I gotta take her gift. Despite the fact we don't get an extra ego gift if we do. Oh, wait, hold on. I wasn't actually going to take Yield My Flesh. Because... I wanted to fight Cassetti. Let me think. We can do 6 floors. I don't want to go all the way to floor 10. Because that's just... it takes too long. But we can do 6 floors. I still want to fight Cassetti. If I can get his floor. Oh well. There it is. There's a very specific reason why I want to fight Cassetti. And it's specifically for the crystallized blood ego gift. Which we do not get here. Unfortunate.
좋은 요리법이었군.
착수.
But yes, the reason why I want to fight Cassetti specifically is, like I said, for the crystallized blood ego gift. And that's because I want to do the monastic experience. Is that what it's called? I forget what it's called. But the newest Intervallo floor. I want to fight that. I want to do that floor. And the problem with that floor, specifically with the boss fight, is that it has an absolute metric ton of bleed damage. Like, the actual threat of the boss fight on that floor is the bleed damage that they inflict on you. It's simply way too much. And if you do not have some form of anti-bleed, it will absolutely end up killing you. Because it's like, it gives you like 100 bleed damage every single turn. And this is unfortunate, to say the least. Why are you using a counter, man?
제압 대책이 큰 셀이 된것 같아.
달빛조차 잘려나갈 올고들
It's also kind of a similar thing with
배웠네.
방금 어떻게 하신 거죠? 깜짝 놀랐어요.
the yield my flesh floor as well, because the main difficulty of Bamboo-Hatted Kim is not actually any of his skills. Like, it's very easy to beat him before he even has the opportunity to use the bone claiming on you.
적들이 충분히 나약해졌다는 거지. 끝을 내도 될 것 같아.
But the amount of bleed he inflicts, specifically on turn 1, is so much that if you do not have some way to either avoid taking damage altogether or some way to counteract the bleed,
기세로 계속 나아가 보자.
it becomes very, very difficult to actually win.
힘이 저 어둡고 악한 아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어. 에리도 베레타노미 형제의 승리도 시간 문제겠지?
삼켜지기 전에 되겠다.
And that's why we're here, fighting Cassetti. Or going to fight Cassetti.
진난을 터.
Because we want the crystallized blood to half the amount of bleed potency we take.
그
오늘도
영웅은
정말 멋진
내가 아니야.
활약이었어.
That in combination with both
꼭 불러주기야.
Princess Erodia and Fanghun Honglu, their support passives, it almost entirely trivializes the amount of bleed damage we take.
얌전히 잠들어 있어야 할 놈들까지
배웠네.
있는 힘껏 찔러놓고 으깨놨지만 저것들은 언젠가 다시 재생하겠지. 내가 부서지고
And there it is,
파괴되어
crystallized blood. Very easy, very
지켜주는
cool.
것처럼. 이 얼마나 완벽하기 그지없는 나만의 지옥인가.
Do-do-do. Don't need this anymore, I don't think. There we go, broken greatsword. And is there some way we can squeeze in clear mirror? Doesn't look like it. Everything we have is stuff that we want. Oh, I can't get that upgraded. Oh well. It's fine. Everything's fine. We got what we came here for.
착수.
Everything's fine.
택인이 행가가見られます
된다면 사활을 건다.
Good thing about Cassetti's fight is it's a very easy fight. Fortunately, we do have the ability to actually buff him because we are technically a bleed identity when we have the ego equipped anyways.
직원들에게 유리한 상황.
But oh my god, rolls at 25.
기술을 제압하는데 이용할 수
There is literally no world in which this thing ever wins a clash or loses a clash when you are not using the ego.
사활을 건다.
It rolls so absurdly high. It's ridiculous. 25.
육참.
방금 공격은 좋았어. 이대로만 계속해보면 좋을 텐데. 있잖아. 사실
Okay, now we can corrode.
항상
I was waiting to corrode so that I could avoid
만 괜찮다면 혹시 우리를
된다.
도와서
사활을 건다.
so that I could avoid overriding yield my flesh.
시간이 필요하니까. 제압 대책이 내가 잘할 것 같아.
We didn't even use the ego because the guy, oh my god, I'm so stupid. I didn't look at his health.
우와.
Oh well. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. What a waste. What a waste. I didn't look at his health at all. That's so funny.
된다면 사활을 건다.
This time we actually use it though.
망을 참아. 숨을 거두리라.
와, 엄청난 공격이었어.
육척이라.
말만한 걸?
깎는다.
해냈구나. 나라도 그랬을 거야.
살을 베어를 깎는다.
개체들의 체력이 많이 깎여 나갔어. 괴로워하는 게 느껴지지 않아? 이 기세로 계속 나아가 보자.
뼈를 깎는다.
왜
아까의
알아듣지
공격으로 인해서
못하는지.
I think we can do one bone claiming.
나약해졌다는 거지.
우월해지는 것인데.
That should be enough to deal with Sasha.
모자란 피를 채우자고.
달빛이 밝다.
인정.
그 문까지 발진 않을 터.
Yeah, using any more than one is literally pointless because she got staggered.
삼성.
왕국의 주인 앞에 예를 갖춰라. 반역의 죄는 처형이 마땅하리라.
Cassetti, on the other hand,
레벨들의 잠은
we can use a lot more
청주라도 걸친 건가?
because he has a lot more health, and therefore
모조리 죽여서 처형이 만드는 거야.
I'm gonna try using every single one. Like, what is his 900? That's fine. It's fine. If he happens to get staggered before we use all of the bone claiming,
그 문까지 발진 않을 터.
so be it.
완벽한 한방. 시원한 걸?
I think he will. We're doing like 400 damage. I think it would only take like
그 문까지
4 of them
발진 않을
to
터.
stagger. Might be all 5, but we'll see.
달빛이 밝다. 그 문까지 발진 않을 터.
効果的な攻撃でした。
달빛이 밝다. 그 문까지 발진 않을 터.
We did get all 5. All right, cool.
승객이 딱콩 한 번 먹였어.
달빛이 밝다. 그 문까지 발진 않을 터.
칼날이 잘 드네요. 아마 그 공격이 약점이었겠죠?
If only that was a skill 3 instead of a skill 1, would have been able to one-turn Cassetti.
악당 퇴치 성공.
I love one-turning him.
오늘도 정말 멋진 활약이었어.
It's so fun to just completely ignore his gimmick.
세상이 평화로워지는 건 기쁜 거야. 근데
Or we're not even really ignoring his gimmick, we're just ignoring his entire boss fight. Alright, the monastic experience. That's why we went to that floor, to get the crystallized blood, so we could have a better time fighting this floor. I don't know. Sorry, we've never been here before. Nothing happened. Very cool.
착수.
Could always look that stuff up on the wiki, but meh, whatever.
저건 아르카나의 스프레드에
Cannot lose a clash or it's rolling the 2022.
조심해야
서를 건다.
You see what I mean, though? With Yield My Flesh just not being able to actually lose any clashes. Like, the only clashes it actually can lose against when you're only using the identity are, like,
우리 쪽에 유리한
the
환경이
really,
있어서
really
잘 됐다.
powerful skills that you don't really want to be losing the clash against in the first place.
된다면 서를 건다. 살을 베어내고
달빛조차 잘려나갈 올곧은 하나. 훌륭하군. 한 수 배웠네.
망을 참아.
And the few skills that go against that, it's usually a 50-50 as to whether or not you can actually win a clash, because
와,
usually the
엄청난
enemies can
공격이었어.
only lose the clash if they get their maximum roll. I keep getting it backwards. I keep saying that the enemy loses the clash against Heals My Flesh and that I win the clash, but no, that's backwards. I don't know why I'm so used to saying it the other way around.
달빛이 밝다.
Because usually winning a clash is a bad thing.
エリートオペレーター並みの腕前です。 속이 많이 깎여 나갔어. 괴로워하는 게 느껴지지 않아?
But even these guys, you know, the blade lineage here. They're also pretty nasty with their bleed damage.
되겠다. 달빛이
So having all of the anti-bleed that we do, it's just very nice for
밝힌 나를
this floor in general.
대성공이야. 칼은 신나. 노래 부를까? 조금만 더 힘내자. 이제 정말 개체의 제압까지 얼마 남지 않았어.
삼켜지기 전에 되겠다. 달빛이 밝다. 그 문까지 밝힌 나를
방금 어떻게 하신 거죠? 깜짝 놀랐어요.
참소.
자, 악당 퇴치 성공!
Very easy.
이거 정말 멋진 활약이었어. 저럼 조용하려나?
Okay, let's see. What can we get here? Piece of a relationship. Very cool. And even more self-healing with Sanguine Fragrance Descends. Nice. I guess we'll just upgrade this. Why not, right? More damage with this. And that's probably it. Unless I can somehow manage to... I can, but I need to get rid of my Queen's Gift to get it. I don't want to do that. What does this thing do? Defense level down. 12% damage. Blah, blah, blah. It's good. It is a good ego gift. Oh well. That's still a decent one. The what's it called? I can't even remember. The Fragment of Conceit. It's still good, but not as good as Clear Mirror.
착수.
기세가 좋군.
And here we go.
맑은 바람이
임-
부는 표정이야.
Imgyeongi, or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm very bad at pronunciation. I usually always get things wrong every single time I try. But in any case, this is why she's so powerful right here. The Bear Splitter skill. Gains unbreakable coins at poise, when she has poise, which she almost always has poise. And then it inflicts bleed and bleed count. It always inflicts it. And she uses 3 of them. They all have unbreakable coins, so that's... Yeah, that's literally 9 right there just from these 3 skills alone. 9 bleed and 9 bleed count. And she's almost going to always crit as well, so... Tons of bleed, every single turn, unavoidable. Very, very difficult if you don't have some kind of anti-bleed.
된다면 사활을 건다.
I mean, just look at that. She already has over 6 poise. So yeah, those Bear Splitter skills, they might as well just say they might as well always have unbreakable coins. I mean, look at that. 17 over 16. That's ridiculous how much bleed she has.
된다면 사활을 건다.
But with all of our anti-bleed, it's manageable at the very least. And then the Shadow Vested Bladesinger gives us healing as well.
숨을 거두리라.
Soloing her without all of this anti-bleed is virtually impossible, I'll say that much. Like,
육청.
칼날이 잘 드네요.
before I did
아마 그 공격이
fight her using only Bamboo Hatted Mersault and also the new Blade Lineage Ishmael identity,
皆さんしっかりしてください
but that was very challenging. It was very challenging because of the amount of bleed she inflicted. She did end up actually killing Ishmael in that attempt. And literally the only reason why I was even able to survive it with using only those two, and by the way, in that fight I didn't have any of the anti-bleeds. But the only reason why I was actually able to survive that is because, number one, Ishmael was there to tank a ton of extra hits with a second health bar, and then the healing provided from the ego was enough to counteract the bleed damage that was inflicted. But yeah, ridiculous. Like 9/29. Sheesh. That's like 200 damage right there. So much bleed. It's so much bleed, I don't actually want to really yield my flesh very much. Because she'll just keep stacking it up more and more.
방금 공격 다음에 다른 대체 얘기도 다시 해봐줄래? 영상으로 남기면 다른 직원에게도 도움이 될지도
Like, there's no real good skills to clash against to be able to use the bone claiming. Every single one of her skills inflicts bleed. And it just gets stronger and stronger. And that skill apparently triggers bleed, so... Very cool.
상황이 좋지 않은 건 사실이야.
Do we lose here? I think we lose here.
포기하지만 않으면 결국 악은 정의에게 지기 마련이니까.
We're gonna heal from the ego, but I don't know if that's good enough. Yeah, no.
실진이 지내셔.
직원들이 전멸해.
Okay, that didn't work. Try again.
똑똑히 기억해 관리자. 다음 기회가 온다면 그때는 인정사정 없어야 할 테니까 담는 거야.
Let's try going instantly.
오늘은 쓸데없이 말을 내릴 필요 없겠어.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it,
방금 공격 다음에 다른
I think we want to just spam as much bone claiming as possible.
도움이 될지도 몰라.
Because something that I completely forgot about is that yield my flesh, or not yield my flesh, but to claim their bones, is in fact
마이너 아르카나 정도겠지? 조심해. 마이너라고 해도 생각보다 강할 수 있으니까. 내가 응원해줄게.
it is in fact a defense skill, which means it doesn't trigger bleed damage.
완벽한 한방. 시원한 걸.
저대로 두면 아르카나들에게 당할 거야. 동료라면 어서 저 친구를 보살펴줘.
It's just difficult because the skills I want to lose a clash against are ones that inflict more bleed, and then the ones I want to actually clash against are always behind those skills, so the bleed stack just gets worse and worse and worse.
방금 공격은 좋았어. 이대로만 계속해보면 좋을 텐데. 너희도 이번 역경을 헤쳐나가기만 하면
Okay,
있을 거야.
not that bad.
그 과정에서 희생이 나올 수 있겠지만 내가 세피라로서 너희가 죽지 않도록 도와줄게.
Yes, we're doing a lot better now that I've actually started using the bone claiming.
절묘한 하나 배워.
Sometimes you just forget about little quirks like that, about it being a defense skill, and defense skills not triggering bleed.
칼날이 잘 드네요. 아마 그 공격이 약점이었겠죠?
Even with all the anti-bleed, still a 15 over 31. It's ridiculous.
팀이라면 완벽하고 빈틈없이 모든 걸 끝마쳐야 하지 않겠어?
She is absolutely ridiculous. But we win, and the extra healing provided from the ego is enough to counteract the bleed damage, at least for this turn, and then it gets halved the next turn, so... difficult fight, but manageable, with the right egos. And the right ego gifts. Like, genuinely, horrifically difficult boss if you do not have the crystallized blood ego gift.
있는 힘껏 찔러놓고 으깨놨지만 저것들은 언젠가 다시 재생하겠지.
Alright, here we go. Bonus fight. The mirror match. Distorted Bamboo Hatted Kim versus Distorted Bamboo Hat Mersol. As you can see, Bamboo Hatted Kim also inflicts quite a bit of bleed. 7 over 11. Not quite as much as Young Tet. What was her name? I already forgot. But anyways. Yes. He does a lot of damage. A lot of bleed damage. Not quite as much as her, but enough to warrant using anti-bleed support passives. Like, the only way to really beat these fights that have a ton of bleed is to either have a bunch of anti-bleed or to have enough healing in order to overcome the bleed. There's really no other way around it. Oh, or also, you could also just avoid taking the damage in the first place through an evade. But yeah, this right here is exactly why Bamboo-Hatted Kim is a much, much easier fight than the other one, because he is very easy to stagger before he even has an opportunity to use his bone claiming. And pretty much the second you stagger him, you win. Unless you get unlucky and don't get any skill 2s, but even then, it's like, you don't need them. Very easy.
승부수가 먹혀들었군. 판세는 완벽히 우리에게 있었다. 정착지를 찾을 때까지 이 기세를 잃지 않기를.
Yep, and that's how I beat Mirror Dungeon 7 hard, using only the Bamboo-Hatted Merceau and his brand new ego. Very strong. It makes this identity so much nicer to play with by effectively removing the one and only thing that, in my opinion, makes him annoying to play with, and that's the fact that he hardly can actually win any clashes, or lose any clashes, I keep saying that, with his Yield My Flesh skill. The ego makes it so that that's never an issue. You can always lose a clash with it, and thus you can always use the bone claiming whenever you feel like it. Now, as I said in my last video, like, I was going to be experimenting with a new video types, and I think I'm going to be continuing with this sort of like long form content of showing pretty much the entire Mirror Dungeon, because effectively what I've been struggling with the most when it comes to making videos is that the type of videos that I've been making aren't really what I want to be making, because effectively I want to be putting the focus on the actual gameplay more so than anything else, and the difficulty with that is I was only really showing the boss fights beforehand, and because of that, like, the boss fights are such a small portion of the actual Mirror Dungeon, I don't have enough time to actually talk about what I want to talk about. And because of that, live commentary is very difficult, as I need to keep interrupting my own thought process once I prematurely end a fight, just so I can continue on, basically. And yeah, it was just like live commentary didn't work. I couldn't focus on the actual gameplay that I wanted to, and ultimately the videos weren't really what I wanted at all. So this is a lot better. I enjoyed this a lot more, just showing the entire Mirror Dungeon. Well, as much of the Mirror Dungeon as I want to, basically, whenever I'm actually talking. And I'm going to probably continue doing this in the future, so yeah. Long-form content. It does mean that going deep into the Mirror Dungeon is going to be even rarer than it already is, since it does take so long to do so, and thus I don't really have enough to fill, like, you know, 3 hours of time of just me yapping about random bullshit. So usually it's just gonna end after 5 floors. Like it basically already has, but this time it'll be hopefully more entertaining. Anyway, that's it for me. Like and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.